If you've watched anime for long enough, you kinda realize every series has its own definition of power. Some shows go with the boring, science-realistic way. Some go crazy with spiritual stuff, and some are like, look bro, you punch so hard the planet just explodes. But out of all the power systems that exist, there are a few that just hit different. Not just because they're strong, but because the way they work is actually cool as hell. So today, I want to go through 7 of the greatest power systems in anime. The coldest, the most iconic, most creative power systems in anime. Let's start with the OG of OGs, because honestly, everything else in anime power scaling exists because this show walked so the others could run. Dragon Ball's ki system is basically the godfather of anime abilities. Toriyama cooked up this whole concept based on the ancient idea of chi, or life energy, and ever since then, every anime has been like, what if we take life energy but make it edgier, or sexier, or purple? In Dragon Ball, ki is literally inside every living thing, but the difference between you and Goku is that you're not about to blow up a planet with yours. Characters train to pull that energy out, control it, and then use it to make themselves stronger, faster, harder to kill, or just straight up fire anime beams that would get anyone banned from every country's military. Ki is also secretly a little more complicated than people give it credit for. Toriyama literally broke it down into 3 mind and spirit components like some ancient meditation class: Genki, Yuki, and Shoki. It's so funny imagining Vegeta screaming at Goku while being like, your moral clarity is stronger than mine, damn you Kakarot. But on top of those, there are also different categories of ki. The good kind that normal people use, the evil ki that villains like Frieza have where you feel it and immediately know this guy's gonna ruin your week, and then there's God ki. God ki is the VIP section of ki where mortals cannot sense you, and you basically become too bougie for the regular power system. That's where forms like Super Saiyan Blue chill. Ki is honestly so iconic that you can see its influence in almost every anime ability system that came after it. Even when it's not called ki, the idea of spiritual energy or life force being weaponized is everywhere. And that brings us straight into Jojo's Bizarre Adventure, because they was like, how do I make a power system that's both simple and extremely complicated? And he somehow nailed it. Stands are literally your soul, but with drip. They're physical manifestations of your mental energy, but the twist is, every stand is built differently. Some stands look like ripped humanoid guardians, some look like literal toys, one is a boat, and one is just a sentient colony of tiny gremlins. What they can do depends entirely on the user's personality, trauma, or general weirdness. Magician's Red shoots fire, Crazy Diamond heals people, Killer Queen just wants to blow stuff up. And then you have Giorno's Gold experience, which is like, I turn rocks into frogs because Araki said so. The way people get stands is also crazy. You usually either get stabbed by this ancient meteorite arrow like you're in some ritual gone wrong, or you inherit it through bloodlines. And because Jojo is the most unserious, serious anime ever, that same bloodline logic is also why Jonathan's body gave Dio's descendants stands, and why Jotaro's mum caught a whole disease because her body couldn't handle hers. Every stand is graded with stats like it's a Pokemon card: speed, precision, range, destructive power, durability, growth. But the real juice is always the stand's signature ability. A stand with a broken ability will violate every rule in the show, and Araki will be like, don't worry about it. Now, on the opposite side, Naruto decided, hey, what if we take ki, but make hand signs and ninja parkour a requirement? Chakra really is one of those systems that sounds simple at first, but gets deeper the more you think about it. Personally, I've always liked how chakra isn't just magic power. It's a combination of mental and physical energy, so even the strongest characters have to manage it like a resource. You can't just spam moves forever. Except Naruto, who basically cheats the entire system with a literal demon battery inside him. What I find cool is how the system is labeled perfectly. You've got taijutsu, genjutsu, and ninjutsu setting up the basic categories, and then you get the 5 chakra natures that actually interact with each other logically. Wind beats lightning, lightning pierces earth. It makes the world feel like it has rules instead of just random power scaling. And then the bloodline abilities make everything even richer. Stuff like Sharingan, Wood Release, or Byakugan feel earned because they're tied to history and genetics, not here's a random power-up. Chakra isn't perfect, but it's easily one of the most well-rounded systems in mainstream shonen. Then Fullmetal Alchemist shows up and just flexes a completely different style. I honestly think FMA has one of the cleanest power systems ever written. Alchemy feels scientific, philosophical, and emotional all at once. The law of equivalent exchange sounds super basic, but the more you watch the show, the more you realize how much they get out of this one rule. You can't cheat it, you can't twist it, and whenever someone does try to break it, the consequences are immediate and brutal. I love how each alchemist specializes in something that fits their background. Mustang controls ignition and oxygen, Armstrong manipulates solids, Ed reshapes anything because he understands everything down to the molecular level. It feels like alchemy reflects each character rather than just being a universal copy-paste ability. And the whole gate of truth concept, that's such a smart way to explain advanced alchemy without ruining the system. You gain knowledge, but you lose something in return. Equal exchange even at the metaphysical level. Fullmetal Alchemist is one of the few anime where the power system actually enhances the story instead of overshadowing it. My Hero Academia takes the exact opposite approach and goes full genetics. Some people don't like quirks because they feel too simple, but honestly, I think that simplicity is what makes them work. They're basically superpowers baked into society, and the series actually explores what that would mean for the world. You're either born with a quirk or you're not, and that alone creates a huge societal divide. Quirks basically fall into those three main categories: emitter, transformation, and mutant, because it gives the world some structure. And quirks aren't free power, they come with drawbacks that make sense. Bakugo's sweat, Todoroki's overheating, Kirishima's fatigue, all of it makes abilities feel grounded. The concept of quirk inheritance and quirk singularity is also underrated. The idea that quirks get stronger and more unstable each generation actually adds stakes. It makes characters like Todoroki or Eri feel like the natural evolution of the world rather than random exceptions. It's not the deepest system ever, but it's one of the most consistent. Then you've got One Piece, which honestly just does whatever it wants but somehow keeps everything balanced. Personally, I think One Piece has one of the most fun systems ever because devil fruits give Oda so much creativity. You want rubber? Sure. Smoke? Yep. Turning people into toys? Yeah, why not? And the drawbacks aren't fake. Losing the ability to swim actually matters when the whole world is water. But the real genius is the addition of Haki. The moment Logias started feeling too untouchable, Haki entered the story and leveled the playing field without nerfing the system. Observation lets you sense intent, Armament lets you actually touch elemental bodies, and Conquerors is just pure force of will. Haki makes fights feel technical rather than relying entirely on devil fruit tricks. What I enjoy most about One Piece's system is how both sides, fruits and Haki, scale naturally. There's no moment where the system breaks itself. Instead, the story and world keep expanding into the power mechanics, not away from them.
For me though, the system that sits at the top is Nen from Hunter x Hunter. It's one of those power systems where the more you learn about it, the more it impresses you. Nen isn't just aura power. It's a combination of personality, discipline, creativity, and self-imposed rules. And I really like how the fundamentals, Ten, Zetsu, Ren, Hatsu, are taught like martial arts techniques. They're skills, not gimmicks. The 6 Nen categories are honestly one of the smartest ways to organize a power system. Enhancement, emission, manipulation, transmutation, conjuration, specialization. Each one shapes a person's fighting style in a way that feels natural. Hisoka using bungee gum, Killua using electricity, Kurapika using chains. Their abilities fit their personalities perfectly. But the part that really takes Nen to another level is the vow and limitation system. The idea that you can boost your power by restricting yourself makes the abilities feel personal and tactical. It's why Nen fights feel like chess matches instead of explosions. Nen is one of the few systems where creativity is a weapon. If you understand the rules, you can bend them, exploit them, or trap your opponent within them. It's complicated, sure, but it never feels random, and that balance is extremely rare. And finally, Jujutsu Kaisen has cursed energy, a system I personally think is super clever because it ties power to emotion. Negative feelings naturally create cursed energy, so the power system literally reflects the world's darkness. Sorcerers are people who can take all that fear, frustration, and anger and turn it into something controlled. That thematic connection is something I really appreciate. What's cool is how diverse the techniques are without ever feeling out of place. Family abilities like Gojo's Limitless and Six Eyes show how deep lineage can go, while unique techniques like Divergent Fist or Idol Transfiguration highlight individual flair. Reverse cursed energy is one of the smartest mechanics in the series. Using negative energy to produce positive outcomes is both philosophical and mechanically interesting. But the crown jewel is domain expansion. It's such a creative idea, projecting your inner world into reality and forcing guaranteed hits within it. It's both a power-up and a psychological expression of the user. All these systems hit differently in their own ways, but the reason they're so great is because they shape the worlds around them. They make characters unique, they create rules, but also make space for creativity. And that's what makes anime power systems so addictive. Not just who's the strongest, but how they become strong, what rules they bend, what sacrifices they make, and how those abilities reflect their personality.